Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the must-have guns for the end of the world apocalypse 2022. Okay, so this is an updated list. I've done this video in the past, right? It's not something that I do annually, and the reason is because my opinions don't change that often, okay? For a very long time, my opinions on the 5 must-have guns were AR-15, a Glock, a AK-47, a Ruger 1022, and a pump shotgun, which quickly changed over to a Sega 12, and then a Lynx 12. Okay, so that changed from a pump to a Sega 12 and then to a Lynx 12. That was really the only change I had done to that list in the last 10 years. Okay, so as of this year, I don't know, I think a week ago, I've like formally in my mind changed that list, and it's not something that I just do frequently. You know, it takes me a long time to change my opinions on a topic like that. So on this table over here, on this side over here, we've got the winners. On that side over there, we've got some losers. Okay, we're going to talk about it. Now let's start with the number one must-have gun. Okay, AR-15. Okay, shouldn't be a surprise to you. Most popular gun in the United States, but it's not just a question of reliability. The gun is very reliable. It is battle tested. The fact that the parts are so common, right? Lots of people have the parts. Lots of people know how to build this gun. Lots of people know how to make repairs to this gun. That's the thing that puts this right at the top of the list. And then, of course, you've got the great ballistics of the 5.56 round, where you can shoot. You know, if you've got like a 50-yard zero, you can shoot all the way out to 250 yards without having to worry about a holdover, right? Because if you have a 50-yard zero from zero distance all the way out to 250 yards, you know, you're either going to be like 4 inches low, 4 inches high. So, you know, all you got to do is put your dot on target, okay? Now, one of the things that you will notice on all these guns, right? Something they all have on them is they all have a hollow sun optic, okay? So shooting is a seeing thing. So the seeing part is probably one of the most important things. It's probably right after reliability, and the only reason why it's second to reliability is because, hey, at close quarters, you know, if you close your eyes and point your gun, you know, in the direction of somebody that's coming through a door, and you put enough rounds in that direction, you're probably gonna hit him. So that's why it's second to reliability. The gun has to work reliably. But the second thing is that you have to be able to aim it under all conditions, during sunny day, at night when it's pitch dark, at dusk, when it's foggy outside. So these are all conditions that I shoot in. You know, most people only do sunny day shooting like in the summertime. You know, very few people are out when it's temperatures like this. You know, even though it's pretty warm today, it warmed up to about, I don't know, 30 degrees. Like I don't even have my hood on. You know, I don't even have gloves on because to me, 30 degrees is warm. Okay, it was like -5 degrees the other night. Okay, and yes, I was shooting when it was -5 degrees. So AR-15, top of the list. It's been there. Now, one of the things to know is that the stock. I don't mean the stock. I mean the value of the AR-15 has gone up considerably since I made this list 10 years ago. Because 10 years ago, let me not say 10 years ago. Let me say back in 2008 to 2010, right? Those are the years that's when like I first got into this game. During those years, I was in the process of becoming an instructor. I was in the process of, you know, starting to shoot these guns a lot more. Basically, that's when I bought property and I was able to shoot on it, and I was able to really start testing these guns out. Back in 2008, 2010, ARs were generally reliable at that time, but they had, you know, basically they were dragging behind them the history of the prior 10, 15 years. The problem with ARs is before the anti-tilt followers on the magazines, okay, before we got anti-tilt followers on the magazines would jam up the gun because they would roll frontwards, backwards. and the guns would jam up. So that kind of made them a lot less reliable. But once we got the anti-tilt followers, the ARs became a lot more reliable. Also, lots of companies started building them, started competing with each other. Also, in many cases, they're also buying parts from the same sources. I mean, there's probably only like 3 or 4, maybe 5, like sources out there that actually make the frames, the receivers. So what's happening is they're lots of companies are buying the parts, lots of them being sold. There's a lot of feedback coming back to the companies. The companies are making corrections. So definitely by now, by 2022, all the bugs have been worked out. I mean, even if you buy a cheap AR, right? Like even I think the cheapest AR I bought was my Palmetto, which I bought the upper and the lower. The thing cost me like $350. It was $120 for the lower, $220 for the complete upper. The whole thing was $350. Okay, that's a very reliable gun. Okay, so even if you buy a cheap AR, it is very reliable. The worst case I've seen with ARs is where the gas port is basically drilled the wrong size, and there's just too much gas coming in or not enough gas. So usually it's a gas issue that presents itself really quickly, and basically you were able to get this corrected with the company that you bought it from. Okay. Now the other thing that is great about ARs is they've been really good about switching over to the free floating barrel system. I mean, yeah, I think at 100 yards, the free floating barrel might be like a half inch more accurate. I mean, I've hit like 1 inch groups with this gun, but that's not even the issue. I mean, the guns, even a 3 inch group at 100 yards is probably decent for the end of the world apocalypse. Okay. So the thing I like about this gun, aside from the fact that that you have places to put stuff, you have the M-lock rails here where you can put your sling. You can hang your lights over here. You can put this little rail over here. I use this as a hand stop, okay? But you can also put a bipod on this. So the gun is very adaptable. The thing I like about this rail, right? So this is a 16-inch barrel with this skeletonized rail over here, makes it really light. A couple of years ago, my standard thing for women is I would recommend an AR pistol because the barrel was a little bit shorter and it was a little easier for them to hold up. But with the skeletonized rails, the weight has really dropped. So now I'm kind of leaning more towards just telling women to get your standard 16-inch barrels with the 12-inch rails skeletonized like this. The reason is because if you get a shorter barrel, usually you have to put some type of a linear comp on there to send more of the noise downrange. Otherwise, the gun is ridiculously loud. Okay, so my opinion now is, I tell women just get a regular 16-inch barrel, get a skeletonized rail. It will be light enough, especially with the collapsible stock. It will be light enough so that you can shorten this up, bring it close to your body, and you will comfortably be able to shoot this. And then if there's your husband or somebody like that, they can also lengthen this out so they can shoot this. So this is generally what I'm recommending now. I've had lots of women shoot this at different ranges I go to. They all shoot this very well, very comfortably. So that's where we are. AR-15, top of the list, must-have gun. Okay. Now, one other feature about the AR-15, and this is the feature that knocked out the Ruger 1022. Okay, this feature knocked out the Ruger 22. With the AR-15, you can get a 22 conversion bolt. Okay, which basically now gives that AR-15 the ability to shoot 22 long rifle because they're basically, the diameter of both bullets is about 22% of an inch, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about. That's the reason why the Ruger 1022 got knocked off of the list. First, a couple of problems with the Ruger 1022. First of all, these magazines, these 25 round BX 25 magazines, I've got lots of them. I mean, they do tend to jam up sometimes. Now, I know that they don't jam up when, a lot of people are going to say they don't jam up, okay? But here's the thing. Most people don't do as much shooting as I do under as many different conditions, weather conditions, as I do. and these they will jam up. One of the things that I've noticed is there's a little bit of a rock when they go in there. Sometimes that can cause a jamming problem. Okay, and it's not just like this one magazine, and it's not just this one gun, because I got another 1022. Okay, there is a little bit of a rocking issue. So there is. So that's the one thing. These magazines are not as reliable as the 10 round, rotary ones that this gun was originally designed to be shot with. Okay. The other reason why this gun got knocked off the list is because it's a pain in the ass to clean. Okay, taking apart. First of all, even if I didn't have this stock that's on it, this aftermarket stock, and I needed to put that there in order to have the collapsible stock so that children and women can shoot this 1022. But the gun is a pain in the ass to get into and to clean. Okay, it's a cleaning problem. With the aftermarket furniture that I have on it, it's even that much harder. I generally try not to take the gun apart. I try to kind of like open this up, blow this out. I do everything I can to avoid taking this gun completely apart. Pain in the butt. And here's the thing: a lot of times, if you take the gun apart, there's like this little pin that goes sides. If that falls out, especially if you're out here in the field somewhere, you drop that pin. That's it. The gun's done. Okay. So taking the gun apart it's very hard to clean this gun out here, not lose parts. Okay, AR-15s, you can open it up, you can clean it out here without losing parts. So that is a significant reason. That's why the Ruger 1022 got knocked off of the list. These magazines, right now, this is the CMMG 22 conversion bolt. This is way easier to clean than taking apart that Ruger 1022. Also, these I think the Black Dog magazine design. Even though this one's made by CMMG, it's a very tough. The Black Dog ones, the plastic tends to be a little bit thinner, a little bit softer. These are very tough magazines. These magazines I have found them to be more reliable than those magazines. Okay, so it took a while for me to get there, right? Because I've had this now for I think about 2 years. But yeah, I've decided that 1022 is off the table, on that table over there. AR-15 is able to do the job of both. It can be a 5.56 rifle, and it can also be a 22 rifle. And I get pretty good, decent groupings out to 100 yards. Okay, you're not going to get like the 1-inch groupings I get with 5.56, but you'll get like within 6 inches, you'll get groupings. And for hunting, because the purpose of having a 22 conversion bolt for your AR is basically end of the world apocalypse. You gotta be able to hunt. You're gonna most likely be. There's a good chance you're gonna be hunting squirrels, rodents, small things like that. That you need a very small caliber like a 22. So that's why you have to have a 22. But now the AR-15 can do the job of both. It can be a fighting rifle, and it can also be a rodent hunting rifle when you put that 22 conversion bolt in there. Okay. So moving on. Glock 17 could also be a Glock 19. Okay, again, optic, must have an optic. I train beginners all the time. I'm able to train beginners a lot faster when they got optics on the gun. Experienced people, I see that they shoot better when they got optics. They may not believe it initially, but as they start getting more into it, eventually they see that they are able to shoot better, especially under stressful circumstances. So again, the reason why this is number 2 on the list, okay, basically this is a backup to your AR-15, okay, but it also has the same features as the AR-15 in terms of the Glock 17. This is the Gen 3. The parts have expired, so there's lots of parts floating around out there. People have been building these Palmer 80s, right? So this is actually a Palmer 80, but it's basically a Glock clone. So it doesn't matter whether you've got, for the purpose of this video, I don't care whether you got a factory Glock MOS or a Palmer 80 you built, as long as it's a Glock Gen 3. And again, Gen 3, because there's more parts out there. There's lots of people out there that know how to build these guns. Now, you might ask me, oh, how about like a SIG 320 or H&K or FN or whatever, that have, guns that have, or SIG, they got a long history as very reliable guns. Yes, those are great guns, But when that gun breaks, and all guns break, okay, and you come to me or your neighbor and you say, "Hey, fix my gun," they're not going to have parts. They're not going to know how to fix the gun. You show up to you if you have a broken Glock Gen 3, you'll be able to find somebody relatively quickly, I think, that has both parts and knowledge to fix the gun. Or let me not say quick, but you have a better chance of finding somebody that has parts and knowledge to fix your Glock Gen 3. Okay, so that's why the Glock is on the list. This is unchanged. Okay, the only thing that's changed is that it's got to have an optic. Okay, it's got to be Glock MOS. Don't show up with iron sights. Iron sights don't work very well at night. And even if you've got like the glow in the dark, the glow in the dark does not work at dusk or in twilight. Okay, the glow in the dark sights, you have to either be like pitch black dark, okay, or bright so that you can actually see the sights. But if you've got glow in the dark sights on your gun, go out when it's like starting to get dark a little bit. You're gonna see where it's not dark enough to actually light them up. You're gonna see that you're gonna have a hard time seeing those sights. Okay, so moving on. Now over here I've got Palmetto Px9. This is new on the list. Okay, this was not on here before. This is replacing the AK-47. Okay, let me say this now. Put it down. This is not to say that I don't think that the AK-47 is a great gun. Okay, it's a great gun. I'm certainly not selling it. Okay, I think here's the thing. I bought this gun I think for some $500. Okay, I wouldn't even sell this gun for $2,000. I probably wouldn't even sell it for $3,000. Okay, it's really hard to replace these guns now. So this gun's become more of a collectible. That even though it's a great fighting gun, I see this more as a collectible. And like I said, it's hard to buy these guns. They are out there. You got to pay a lot more for it. Palmetto is making them. The problem that I have with the modern AKs, right, the ones that are being produced now, for some reason, they're still not making them optic ready. Okay, so if you buy an AK-47, okay, you usually have to spend extra money to get a collapsible stock, and it has to be a collapsible stock, not the side folding garbage that doesn't help you, until you actually open it up. Okay. And with this, you can collapse this, and the woman in your house can shoot this, right? Because she can pull this in tighter to the body, especially with an AK, which is more front heavy. You gotta have the collapsible stock. You gotta have a rail up here where you can mount an optic. Optic has to go up here. It can't go on a dust cover. Dust cover is just not a stable platform. Having it off the side mount over here, I have found that it raises up so high that now you gotta put your jaw on the gun, or you gotta put a riser. Again, it's adding expense. It's adding extra parts that you don't need. Basically to get this gun combat ready, so that it'll have a rail here where you can put a light. Be able to take a sling on the side over here. Basically you're gonna end up spending another $200. So you're spending like whatever. Let's say you get it from Palmetto. You paid $900 for this. Now you gotta spend another $200 so that you can have the gun optic ready. Okay, it doesn't have an optic on it. It's not gonna be as usable in stressful conditions. Okay, so again, great gun. I'm not getting rid of it. If I get the opportunity, I'm going to buy more of them. Right, I have a bunch of these already. I want to get more, but this is not a gun that I feel that I can tell somebody that's like just getting into this game. Right, go out there and buy this gun right now. I can't say that. I can say get an AR-15, get a Glock. I can say get the Palmetto Px9. Okay. A couple of reasons why this gun is now on this list. First of all, it takes Glock mags. It takes the same magazines and the same ammunition as your Glock 17 or your Glock 19. Okay, that's a big advantage, being able to take the same ammunition. The other thing is that a lot of the parts in here, like the trigger group, is the same as your AR-15. A lot of the furniture is the same as the AR-15. Now here's the thing: the bolt on AR-15s. I mean, you gotta have backup bolts. You gotta have backup bolts for your ARs, because the bolts. If you shoot a lot, they can and they will break. Usually, by the time I get to 10,000 rounds, I have usually broken the trigger group, some part in the trigger group. Maybe it's the pins. Maybe the sears have worn out. Because these are lightweight parts. Okay, so by the time I get to 10,000 rounds, Usually I have to replace something in the trigger group, and usually I have to replace something in the bolt, and it might be the gas rings. It's usually the extractor that's broken. Maybe I broke the firing pin. So you've got to have extra parts. This gun was not meant to last forever, but it is a very usable gun, and it's very easy to fix. Let's jump back to the AK-47 for a second. A lot of people say, yeah, just get the AK-47. It will never break. Liars. Okay, I broke the recoil spring in this gun right here. I broke it at around 10,000 rounds. Okay, I also broke the muzzle slant on it. Now, muzzle slant, that's not, it cracked on me. That's not something that's necessary for the gun to work. But the recoil spring will, the gun can't work without a recoil spring, and this one just broke in half. So you can't say that the gun's gonna last forever. It's a very durable gun, okay, but it does break. Now, here's the thing: with the AR-15, when your bolt breaks, you can just take any other bolt that's made for an AR-15 and just drop it in here. If the bolt on the AK-47 breaks, you have to headspace it. The way you headspace the bolt, okay, and this is not something I've ever done. I'm not an expert in it, but the way I'm told is you have to basically take out the barrel pin and move the barrel back and forth to get the proper head spacing. I don't know how to do it. I don't have the tools to do it. Here's the thing. I said, okay, fine. And the reason I learned this is because in 2020, I wanted to get a backup bolt for my AKs, and I found out that, hey, you can't just drop in a bolt. I said, fine, let me just get a firing pin then. Well, it turns out that the firing pins that go into the AK, they're not all the same size. So you got to make sure that you got the right size firing pin for your AK-47. So at that point, I said, forget it. If it breaks, at that point, I'll figure out what the right size is. Most likely, I'll just send it out to a company that builds, that knows AKs, and have them fix it for me. Because I just don't know. It's one thing if I know what parts to buy. Another thing, I don't know which parts to buy. So that's the other thing that knocked out the AK. Going back to the Palmetto Px9. So the bolt on this, okay, it's very simple because it's a straight blowback system. This works the same way as that Ruger 1022 works. There's no rotating bolt. When you fire this comes straight back. The blowbacks are very rough on the gun, so you can break. I've broken the firing pins. The gun vibrates a lot. The way I've dealt with that is this gun comes standard with a 4-ounce buffer weight. I've upgraded to an 8-ounce buffer weight, and the gun runs a lot more smoothly. Okay. So the other thing is that these things come optic ready, right? M-lock rails so that you can put your lights on here and slings and all that stuff. So it takes if you break your extractor, it takes the extractor is the same size as the one that goes in your AR-15. So the trigger group from the AR will drop in here. The extractor, which is a vulnerable part, will drop in there. So the buffer system is off. The buffer tube is the same. You can probably you need. Like I said, it works better with an 8-ounce buffer weight, but if you had to, you can throw the 3-ounce in there. Not that would break or anything, but the point is that this gun takes a lot of parts from the AR-15, both internally and externally. Like the optics are obviously the same, the flip-up sights are the same. The height, the line of sight over your bore is the same. So that's the reason why this gun is now on this list. Now, this gun has two very useful purposes. Number one, it's a great training gun, okay? Because the one thing I can do with this PX9 that I can't do with the AR is shoot steel up close, right? 15, 20 feet. I can shoot 9mm that close and not worry about a piece of that steel coming back and hitting me. Okay? I can't do that with the 5.56. So it's a great training gun. It also has the potential to be a good hunting gun for for something, obviously not as small as a rabbit, right? Because with a rabbit, you probably use a 22. But here's the thing that a lot of people have not considered. And this, a lot of you guys are not going to like this, but end of the world apocalypse, right? The deer are all going to disappear, okay? They're going to be hunted to extinction almost like in no time. Or they're going to just disappear so deep into the forest that you'll never find them. So the deer are all gone, okay? The two main sources of food are going to be, one, other people, right? All right. and dogs, cats. Dogs are probably gonna, start breeding like crazy. We're talking about wild dogs. I mean, the now domestic dogs are gonna become wild, and they're gonna eat the human corpses. So they're gonna have a food source. Okay, they're gonna multiply. There's gonna be lots of dogs out here. People have been eating dogs for very long periods of time. Eskimos eat dogs. Chinese eat dogs. So the 9mm would be a good hunting round for for catching dogs and eating them, right? And again, end of the world apocalypse. We gotta be realistic here, okay? We've got to survive. So the 9mm would be a good hunting round for something about that size, okay? Moving on. Shotgun. Originally, I had a pump on my list, and then I switched it out to the Sega 12 because basically a semi-automatic is always going to be better than manual. When I train people under stress, I find that they short stroke pump shotguns, okay? Now, the shotgun is not so much for a self-defense purpose. That's more for a hunting purpose. But it does have the capability of also becoming a self-defense gun, okay? So it does have that capability. The reason why I'm going with the semi-automatic, again, like I said, I find that people under stress short stroke pumps. People think that pumps don't break. They do break? I mean, if you do as much shooting as I do, I've broken pumps. Okay, pumps will break. Now people ask, well, how about like other semi-automatics like Benelli's, right? Very reliable. Here's the thing. I've seen a couple of people shoot Benelli's. Semi-automatic. Sometimes they're very finicky with the type of ammunition that can go into them. The other thing is that they got this loading gate, and I've seen this happen many times. And what happens is when you push the shell in, and it kicks it back, but the loading gate is down. Basically, the shell gets stuck between the loading gate and the top of your, and the loading gate and the top. The loading gate and your bolt. It gets stuck in between the two, and it's really hard to get it out. Okay, and I've had that happen to me a couple of times when I was at different ranges training people on their Benelli's, and the shell got kicked out like that, and it got stuck between the loading gate and the bolt. And I spent so much time trying to, get the gun open and get that shell out. So that's why I don't like Benelli's. In fact, I hate Benelli's. I hate them. I mean, I've seen this problem enough times and had busted my nuts trying to get the shells out of that jammed up situation that I really would never want to buy one of those. Okay, obviously I'm very prejudiced because I've had this experience, but it's a realistic experience. I mean, I've seen it happen numbers of times. Now the Lynx 12. Okay, again, you can put this. So here's the thing, for my AK guys out there, the AK still lives, right? It lives in the Lynx 12. It's off my list, my must-have gun list, but it's on that table over there, but it's also still here. So nice thing about it, you are able to put an optic on it. You're able to put a collapsible stock on this. Detachable magazines, optic, put a sling on it. I put a rail over here to put a light on it. So yeah, you got to have a shotgun. Shotgun, because you can shoot lots of different types of ammunition. You can use birdshot to hunt birds, hunt rabbits, things that run fast on the ground. Birdshot is great for that. You can also use buckshot for turkeys. You can use slug, right? You can with the slug now. You can because that takes 2 3/4 inch shells and also 3-inch shells. Okay, you just gotta make sure you adjust the gas valve on that. So now with the slugs, you've got the ability to go after deer. You can go after even much larger game if it's available. Okay. The issue that I have with the Lynx 12 is the quality control. Okay, the ones that I have, I've got 3 of them. They've all been working great. Okay, I have heard of cases where people have gotten the Lynx 12s and they don't work. So once you get it, you really got to test it out, while it's still within that warranty period, basically, where you just got it from the gun shop and you have the ability to go back there and tell them to replace it. But once you get it working, the thing works. It works good. Initially, you got to have your shots got to be at least 1,200 feet per second. If it doesn't work at 1,200 feet, bump it up to 1,300 feet. Eventually, as the recoil spring wears in, I mean, I've shot that with 1145. So that's my list. 4 must-have guns for 2020: AR-15, a Glock, the Palmetto Px9 9mm, and the Lynx 12. Okay, those are my guns, and also the 22 conversion bolt for your AR. This almost counts as a gun in and of itself. Okay, so we've I guess we're down to 4 guns because the conversion bolt is really not a gun; it's a bolt. So we went from 5 must-have guns to 4 must-have guns, and I'm not saying don't have other guns. I mean, I've got those guns. I'm keeping those guns. I got lots of other guns. I'm not saying don't have other guns, but I would tell people these are the guns that you should have first. And this is weighted because I'm going to tell people get 2 AR-15s, get 2 Glocks, okay? Then get 1 Palmetto, 1 Lynx 12, and then figure out what you want to get after that. So. Drop some comments below. If you disagree with my list, by all means, let me know. Tell me what your favorites are. If there's anything you think I should consider, put in the comment section. If you're not a member of the channel, hit the bell, subscribe and hit the bell button so you get the notifications. I'll talk to you guys soon.